It is August 14th, 2017. August 15th, I apologize, August 15th, 2017, and the time is 5:08. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Board Member Hartman, will you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will have a roll call starting from my far right.
Sandy Kravitz.
Kim Hartman.
Barbara Perleberg, Board Member Kirby and Board Member Beckham did have some unforeseen circumstances that are delaying them tonight. They both do hope to arrive at some point during the meeting. So we do have 3 board members present at this time, and we do have a quorum. We'll move right into the item 3, approval of agenda. I do have some changes to request. I am recommending the following amendment to the agenda: item 9B, item 9C, and item 9D to be consolidated into one consent agenda item designated as agenda item 7CC, wherein the board approves the annual membership dues for the Arizona School Board Association, designates Board Member Hartman as its delegate and Board Member Beckham as its alternate to the Assembly on September 9th, 2017, and instructs Dr. Birdwell to review with the delegate and Board President any additional input received that may require further direction from the Board regarding its representation at the Assembly. I'm also recommending, in the consideration of time, we remove item 9E, and since we do have a member, actually 2 members running late, and the item was presented to the board last Thursday, I recommend we move agenda item 8C, program choice and academic rigor, to be the first information discussion item this evening. Are there any additional requests to amend the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Motion to approve is amended.
Thank you, Board Member Hartman. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. All right. Next, move on to item 4. Board President calls upon Dr. Birdwell to present recognitions and celebrations.
Thank you. We have 2 this evening. Dr. Johnson is going to provide the first one for a Coronado High School JAG teacher. Wendy, yeah, make your way up here.
Yes, the whole team head up here. President Perleberg, governing board members, superintendent, Sandra, I'm very pleased to present this award this evening, the Arizona JAG Award. JAG, or Jobs for Arizona Graduates, is a nonprofit organization that has served Arizona's youth for more than 35 years. JAG's mission is to help young people stay in school and acquire the academic, personal, leadership, and vocational skills they will need to be successful upon graduation. Today, JAG serves more than 1,200 young people in 25 Arizona programs. Here at Coronado High School, the award-winning JAG program is synonymous with teacher Wendy Paez. And now across Arizona, she holds another title, that of 2017 Outstanding JAG Coordinator Specialist. Wendy received the award last month at the National JAG Training Seminar in Las Vegas. Wendy holds multiple titles here at Coronado, but here is all you really need to know about her. Wendy is passionate, caring, dedicated, not only of Coronado's JAG students, but the social studies students she teaches as well. Known to all as Mama Bear, when a student enters Wendy's room, they now have a fierce advocate, mentor, and adult role model who pushes them to reach their potential. Her standards are high. She expects students to give their best every day. She inspires them to desire to be their best, to want to do better, and feel that they can do better. Wendy works tirelessly, including nights and weekends, to take care of her kids, and they know she always has their backs. The success of the JAG program and its students is directly attributable to Wendy. Coronado and SUSD are incredibly proud to have a teacher the caliber of Wendy Paez. Congratulations.
Dr. Johnson, just to add to that, would you please also explain that the AD is so amazed with this program that we were also offered, if I believe correctly, to add another one?
Yes, I got a call from the governor's office this summer, and they had additional grants for JAG programs and asked if there was an opportunity in Scottsdale to expand the JAG program. And we just finally got all the details, and Wendy's going to help us get all those students off her waiting list into another JAG program. So we're really excited to have 2 JAG programs, first ever to have that honor.
And Dr. Sakos has an award this evening.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, and Sandra. I get the honor year to year to stand before you as a foundation board member and celebrate all the foundation does and the dollars that go right into our classrooms. As a district leader in the Scottsdale School District, I'm also very proud and honored to recognize those teachers and administrators who take the time and go above and beyond to write many grants that foster innovation in our classrooms, pre-K-12. Tonight, I am going to ask that our leaders and staff members that were responsible for writing the grant stand to be recognized. Our first is from Hohokam. Chuck Rontal is the principal, and with the help of a parent volunteer, Mike Peabody, they helped continue to fund the robotics program with the grant in order to grow to accommodate the addition of the school year to their 6th grade students. Also the area of science, we have Miss Hughes, principal of Echo Canyon K-8, along with Nan Wilkinson, assistant principal, and Irene Lang, who put together a Earth to Table program. Kids who cook an after-school class at Echo Canyon teaches them lifelong skills around health, wellness, and incorporating food that's utilized or that's grown in the school's garden. Also in the area of science, Ingleside Middle School Principal Chris Thuman, along with Stacy Green, who is leads the science, received money to go toward their science symposium. This is an opportunity for their gifted students at the middle level to apply science, math, and English concepts in an exciting new way. Also in science, Matt Patzloff, our new proud principal of Navajo Middle School, along with Lynn Brachtel, put together the magnet wall that inspires collaboration, innovation, and prediction among Navajo's Panda 1 and Title I pre-K students. The area of science was obviously a big hit for our mini grants. Also, Saguaro High School and Oxinger principal, along with Susan Lindbergh and Chris Brandt, put together a mini grant proposal that supports FIRST Robotics and the continuation of supporting the excellence that Saguaro has with robotics and continuing to compete locally in the state and nationally. Chaparral, Dr. Komotos, along with Amy Palatucci, who is now the assistant principal at Arcadia, but in Steve Guy Slinger, also put together a grant to support the Chaparral Robotics. This again will help complement Chaparral's World Championship robotics team efforts to continue and to grow with new membership every day on the campus. Technology grants, our very own Margaret Cerna from Navajo Elementary, along with her teachers, Marilyn Williams, Allison Sock.
Tavon Elementary.
Oh. What did I say? Navajo, I'm sorry, I was still on that.
That's okay.
We wanted to make sure we made a big fuss about this. Tavon, everybody. Along with teachers. There you go. Marilyn Williams, Allison Sakil, and Lauren Miles, they put together a mini grant that supported iPad minis to be used in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade team classes. And team is short for Tavon, Technology, Engineering, Accelerated Math, and Science. Woo-hoo. And also in the technology area, and I won't get this one wrong, Christine Bono, proud principal of Redfield, along with Kathy Anderson, our lead adaptive PE teacher, Danette Amafadon, put together a grant to support a school sensory room. So they'll be used to purchase motion tables, wheelchair tunnels, squishy chairs to help and support their 12 students in the medically fragile class, which in SUSD we call SHINE. A program grant went to Chuck Rantella, Hohokam principal, and Linda Tardy, who helped him, is not here this evening, but they have continued to find ways to engage their community in children's learning and set to launch a family game night. Game on. And while I really appreciate all of the teachers have put effort together, I am going to call some individuals to the front. They are a few of our Cheyenne 8th grade students. And I'm going to call at this time Anna Baldus, Paige Baldus, Annabelle Washburn to the front. So typically we see mini grants that enhance the innovation of the classroom of things that are done in the educational arena. So instructional technology or best practices with literacy. But in this case, the grant that was written by Kathleen Baldus, which was the former PTO, Rachel Washburn, former PTO, along with the support of Grace Stombris, their school principal, is very unique. They decided to fund a program that was developed by these young ladies. It is called 2 is greater than 1 in the mathematical formula. So they'll show you on your bracelet. 2 greater 1, alligator, 2 greater 1. You'll see. Very innovative, and really have launched the last few years an anti-bullying campaign at Cheyenne Middle School. So they have been met with great success. While this was a Girl Scout project, they brought it to Cheyenne, who the last couple of years has supported, and they outreached the foundation to continue to work with pre-K 8 students to ensure that bullying does not occur on Cheyenne's campus. So very unique project, and I want an opportunity to introduce you to these fine ladies, and they also want to give you a bracelet, and then you'll get it, 2 greater than 1. Okay, thank you very much, and if everyone can step outside for a photo, including our adults, principals, teachers, students. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Dun, 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 dun. While they make their way outside, if I could have all of our IT staff, Debbie Spalding, their new Director of IT, our warehouse distribution folks, come on up to the front, in front of the podium, come on up to the front.
And thank you for my new password. It got me in. Thank you very much.
While our students had summer break and our teachers went off to their master's programs and their summer schooling and in some cases, yes, a break as well, this IT team prepared classrooms, removed old computers, brought in new, through the distribution warehouse center, the new technology for our staff, made sure the images were correct. They went out into every single classroom. They checked the voiceover. They checked the projectors. They checked everything to make sure that it was working. And they're still not done. Because now they get to go round two checking every single classroom and every single room. And to give you the extreme that we're talking about, on the first week of school, we had 1,700 requests from teachers. Now, that wasn't because the technology they had wasn't working. It was because we have a little thing with printers going on, and we're in the process of resolving that because we're kind of between companies and having a little dispute with RICO. But the answer to that is, I have to say, we are so proud of the people before us here. Our teachers, I know the emails that we have received have been very positive about their technology, minus printing, which you did not have anything to do with IT team. We want to thank you. You started the school year off and were able to give tools to teachers so that they could meet and greet their students the very first day ready to teach. So on behalf of the governing board and as a superintendent, thank you for all you've done for our learning environment. $1,500 laptops. You're probably ready to stop looking at laptops, but thank you so very, very much. And if we could get your guys' picture out there, because you went above and beyond, we'd like to have that to send out for a news release. Thank you, team. Appreciate it. That's all the recognition this evening.
Thank you. Dr. Birdwell. We will move on to item 5, public comments. Sandra, just to confirm, I do have all the cards, correct? In conformance with open meeting laws, the governing board may not discuss or take action tonight on any matters raised during public comments that are not on the agenda. However, the governing board may respond to direct criticism, ask staff to review the matter, or ask that it be placed on a future agenda. As a reminder, each speaker will have 3 minutes. Board Member Hartman will indicate the time with a 30-second warning. We do ask that each speaker introduce themselves for clarity in the record. We have several speakers tonight, so in the interest of time, we ask that those present refrain from applause or reactions between speakers so that we may hear and respect all speakers. Our first public comment is Paul Lois, followed by Julie Horwin.
Members of the governing board and Superintendent Birdwell, my name is Paul Lowe's. I live in Tempe at 414 East Woodman, and I'd like to tell you that every one of my brothers and sisters and myself attended this particular high school. We began here with the very first year to open. My sister helped build the Gaddy mural out there. My brother was the student body president of the very first ever all 4-year graduating class. We had great teachers. We could name them all, Gaddy and Schaefer and Hughes and on and on and on, newcomer, people of legend here, and we always stood with our teachers. In fact, I stood with them in the early 70s when they were on strike from a board that treated them very, very badly. I'm a teacher now. I'm a teacher in Phoenix Union. I'm also the past president of the Phoenix Union Teachers CTA. I think what's happened to our educators here in Phoenix Union as they flee this district to Paradise Valley, to Deer Valley, and my own district, it's a shame to watch what's happening to Scottsdale. So I will tell you this, in Phoenix Union, we have found good ways to organize our students. I can't organize my own, but I can legally organize yours. And I will happily print thousands and thousands of flyers, get them going to make sure that teachers again in this district have a voice the way that they always should have. If you take that as a serious warning, I hope you will talk with me and talk with teachers here with respect. In the long run, I'd rather not do this because I'm busy enough, but I will fight for the good of this district, and my brothers and sisters will, and the alumni will, for the good of this district for years and years and years to come. We're proud of this place, proud of this particular school, proud of our teachers here, and we want them to feel it. Thank you very much.
Julie Horwin.
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Birdwell. My name is Julie Horwin. I'm a resident of this district. I'm also a past educator. I'm sure that if someone took a look at how much money was saved in time and dealing with issues between with educators, you'd find out that your release time for your president is saving you quite a lot of money and time and problems. The presidential release time for the president of the Scottsdale Education Association is also important because we're in critical years where we're trying to decide through your work and through the work of these fabulous teachers and the parents of this district about how to implement ESSA in the most appropriate way so that it benefits all of the students of Scottsdale School District, of which I'm a resident. I'm not sure I mentioned that. One of the ways that you can make sure that ESSA is implemented appropriately and in the best way possible is to make sure that every single stakeholder is at the table. And one of your jobs is to remove the barriers that keep those stakeholders from the table. Making sure that your president has early release time is one of those critical points so that she is there to address. She does have her educators step up to the table and think about the students first. So please, I come from a very student-oriented place, and I hope that you will address the presidential release time appropriately and do what's best for your students and their educators. Thank you.
Mike Peabody, followed by Jerry Smith.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, I'm here tonight as a parent on behalf of some of my friends in the district, the classified, the non-teachers, as you will. I found out recently that their agreement, the SSPA, was ratified or agreed to back in May, and in an email from someone in the cabinet was told that they would bring it in front of the board very soon. It is now August, the next school year. It's not on the agenda. I would like the agreement for the SSPA, sorry, I don't know the exact initials, for the classified personnel of this district to be brought in front of the board and ratified. It is an agreement between them and you, the board members. On behalf of those people, please make it happen.
Jerry Smith will be followed by Beth Parsons.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Smith. I taught in the Scottsdale School District for 44 years and here at Coronado High School. I'm a past president of the Scottsdale Education Association. As members of the Board of Governors, I'm confident that each of you has an agenda, some reason or purpose that you hold near and dear that has served as a driving force behind your desire to serve as a member of the board, perhaps for noble reason, perhaps not. As for myself, if I were a member of the SUSD Board of Governors, my major motivation would be improving the education of our students by attracting and retaining highly effective teachers. This can best be achieved, I believe, through quality working conditions, above average teacher salaries, benefits, and the maintenance and improvement of a viable, workable, sustainable, and negotiated teacher employment agreement. Here's why. It's been my experience that board members, central office administrators, and school principals, no matter how dedicated they may be, might be thought of as carpetbaggers. Many have fleeting loyalty to the district, to its employees, and to its clientele. Let's take superintendents, for example. They arrive in our district, each bringing along a set of goals that they believe will benefit the district. Once here, most have hired consultants, as often as not cronies from their former jobs. Teachers must adapt to program whims, an adaptation often involving long and sometimes painful professional development and training. When the superintendents depart, the programs are discarded like autumn leaves. Teachers get new administration, new policies, new goals, new ideas, out with the old, in with the new, ad infinitum. Need evidence? Here's a news item I recently read in the Arizona Capital Times. Cronkite News Service review of 94 superintendents contracts in Arizona, districts with 1,000 or more students, found 40 who are in their first 2 years. At least 9 districts will get new chiefs this summer. That's 52% turnover in 2 years. If given more than 3 minutes, I assure you, I could name a dozen superintendents who brought with them to Scottsdale programs, any trace of which, other than perhaps a binder gathering dust, is long gone. These programs have cost this district hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours of in-service training. I wonder, for example, if we still call our receptionists directors of first impressions. On the other hand, for 50 years, the boards of governors of this district have honored a contract with the teachers to cooperate with their freely elected representatives in the development of the teacher employment agreement. Now, it is my understanding that this process is to be discarded. Such a short-sighted policy can only serve to undermine teacher morale and send our teachers scurrying for jobs in neighboring districts. Or worse, teachers without viable recourse will simply hunker down, hating their jobs and their district. We all know who will suffer from the destruction of the TEA process that has served this district for 50 years. But ask yourself, who will profit? The kids, the teachers, or the power brokers? Thank you very much.
Ms. Parsons will be followed by Ron Davidson.
Good evening, governing board members, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, and community members. For the first time in memory, SEA was excluded from participation in the new teacher event at the beginning of the year. This shun was a disappointment and felt punitive. Like many of my colleagues, I joined the Scottsdale Education Association 26 years ago at my new teacher orientation. The benefits were clear to me. I was joining the AEA, the largest professional organization in Arizona and the leading advocate for quality public education. SEA represents all teachers, empowers educators, advocates for employees, and collaborates to improve working conditions. These are the reasons I joined SEA. I never considered whether or not SEA had legal 501 status. That does not affect the mission of the association or the work that it does. Yet information about a clerical error is being used to demonize the SEA, to minimize its leadership, and deny the SEA use of school communication resources. Let me read to you the words posted on the SEA bulletin board on my campus. SEA cares about children. SEA members put children first and work diligently to help students achieve high academic standards while providing a nurturing and supportive environment for all learners. SEA cares about the community. SEA members are committed to being actively involved in the community, supporting community activities, developing partnerships, and producing quality graduates for Scottsdale. SEA cares about our profession. SEA members continually strive to improve themselves professionally and to raise the quality of classroom instruction by attending and presenting workshops throughout the year. SEA cares about each other. SEA members support all certificated staff through the meet and confer process, conflict resolution, and problem solving throughout the year. These are the reasons that I joined SEA. Aren't these ideals that our district should embrace? Yet we're asked to remove the words from the walls. SEA has expanded my opportunities to network with other educators statewide, to broaden my perspective. It's helped me to develop leadership skills, mentor other teachers, advocate for members, and broaden my professional growth. SEA has my back. These are the reasons that I joined the SEA. There are 2 more reasons why I'm a member. Their names are Lindsay and Annabelle. Lindsay is my daughter who will graduate from NAU next year in the hopes of pursuing the vocation of teaching. And Annabelle is my granddaughter who's just begun her career as a student. SCA advocates for our profession. It's not what I do, it's who I am, and that's why I joined SCA.
Ron Davidson will be followed by Bonnie Bizon.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell. I'm Ron Davidson. By way of background, I've been an employee in the Scottsdale district for 5 years, and I'm in my second year of teaching 7th grade math at Cocopa. I love teaching, I love the school, I especially appreciate the dynamic leadership of our new principal, Nick Noonan. I came to teaching as a second career. My wife and I planned our retirement, our financial retirement, very, very well. I don't need the money, which is probably a good thing considering how little I'm paid. Rather, I teach for the positive influence that I can have on children. I consider that a privilege. With that perspective, I am deeply disappointed by the lack of support that we've gotten this year from the administration, from the district office. I appreciate Dr. Birdwell's recognition of the hardworking IT staff. They have no doubt been working extremely hard all summer. However, the problems are a little bit greater, Dr. Birdwell, than just printers not functioning. The smart boards don't work. I can't deliver lessons that I could past years. Frankly, I'd just soon get rid of my laptop and put my old desktop model in because I could be a more effective teacher then. And the thing that caused me great concern was the lack of books. 2 weeks before the beginning of school, the 7th grade teachers at Cocopa recognized that we were short on books. We finally got the district to understand that. As of Friday, they had not issued a purchase order. We were told instead to make copies. So my dilemma was to have either my students not have a book or intentionally violate copyright laws, violate intellectual property laws, so that my students have books. I chose to do the latter. To add insult to injury, our copy machines don't work. We had 2 down on Friday. I broke the 3rd one, and I spent an additional $97.81 at FedEx Kinko's for the privilege of violating the copyright law. Thank you for your time.
Excuse me. Would you hand me your receipt? I'd be happy to reimburse you.
Thank you.
Second of all, please never copy a book, and I don't know who gave you that, but we'll be looking into this immediately. The district will either pay this or I personally will pay it, and I do apologize.
Bonnie Bizon will be followed by Julie Shanowski.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Bizon, and I've been teaching in our district for 15 years. I am proud to serve as the secretary for the SEA Exec Board, and at the start of the school year trainings this year, staff around the district were trained in bullying awareness. In education, as important as bullying is, it tends to be an overused term, and I use it with caution here, but certain aspects of the training resonated strongly with me and others in the room. One of the first slides defines bullying as an aggressive, systematic abuse of power that involves physically or emotionally harming others, a perceived or actual power imbalance, and repeat offenses in which the victim feels powerless to stop the abuse. For a year and a half, SEA has pleaded with you first privately, then publicly, trying to communicate with our district regarding the morale and perception problems we have seen at our different sites. Instead of meeting us where we are and acknowledging that our perceptions matter, our district has continually ignored this growing problem and tried to convince us that our own perceptions were wrong. I feel like I'm Charlie Brown and our district is Lucy with the football. And every time you have convinced me that you're not going to pull the ball away at the last second, so I gather my strength. I run towards that ball thinking this time surely we can find common ground that will help our teachers and students kick this football down the field. At every turn, I have been left flat on my back, the wind knocked out of me, wondering why I trusted again. Our district management would like to believe that they are the victims here. It's a narrative I heard consistently this summer. To say this is I just say a most respectful good grief. When our district management works actively to manipulate us and silence our voices, you increase the cost we pay to be a teacher, because there is an opportunity cost to being a teacher, and every good teacher I have ever met pays that cost gladly. The time away from our families, friends, and interests is an investment in our society. We do it because we believe we have an opportunity to make the world a better place. But what happens when our sacrifice is treated with disrespect, disdain, and authoritarianism? At some point, that opportunity cost becomes too high to pay, and we are faced with a choice to do what's good for our society or what's good for our own happiness. When communities treat teachers with respect and professionalism, it lowers our opportunity cost and gives us motivation to stay in this amazing profession. Respect matters. Respect a teacher. Save a child. Please listen. You are not the victims. We are not your enemy. Please reinstate the TEA.
Good evening, Governing Board members, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra. I'd like to introduce to you the Executive Board of our Scottsdale Education Association this evening. I'd like all of them to stand up when I call their name, please, and remain standing. Ian Steffen, Anna Patterson, Bonnie Bizon, Chris Ambry, Tom George, Steve Geislinger, Carrie Curlin, Beth Parsons, Bert Teveld, and Pat Visseau. These individuals are some of the most dynamic and involved teachers in Scottsdale. They represent a wide array of subject areas and combined have a total of more than 210 years of teaching experience. We have been elected by our peers to represent the teacher's voice in Scottsdale. Additionally, each campus has a site representative to assist with various campus tasks, including communication and advocacy. Will those individuals present tonight also please stand up? And many are standing in the back of the room. Thank you. You can have a seat. Thanks, guys. As our governing board, you have recognized many talented SEA teachers in our district. Our SEA members choose to actively engage as professional educators. They are not troublemakers, rebels, or slackers. They are used best. They are SUSD's best. They are SEA, AEA, and NEA. Although there has been a recent attempt to delegitimize our association, and once the information was discovered, instead of practicing the growth mindset we talk about and helping us fix, learn from, and quickly move on from the error, penalties were imposed upon us. This status issue has nothing to do with who we are, why we exist, or the fact that we provide great benefit to our students, our district, and our profession. We have taken the necessary steps to retroactively reinstate our 501c status, and that will all get fixed. But what will remain are the bad feelings created by the actions taken to date, as mentioned previously, being barred from new teacher events in which we support and we welcome our new colleagues, being denied the use of communication tools on our campuses, my being stripped from the historical practice of my release time as the association president, which SUSD does not pay for, but greatly benefits from. Replacing our meet and confer process with district communication teams, and most importantly, beginning a new school year without a mutually approved employment agreement in place. These unprecedented actions seems to be distracting us from focusing our attention on moving forward and together as a district. Instead of focusing on improving the systems already in place, we will create something new to replace the old, and without this shared interest and voice, ultimately ending up with the same. And lastly, by continually stating that our systems are broken is quite insulting. In doing so, you are stating we are broken. The teachers, support staff, administrators, parents, students, and community members who support our schools. I do not believe we are broken. I believe we do a lot of good right here in Scottsdale. Are we perfect? No. Do we need to work better together? Absolutely, yes. We teach our students that through collaboration and hard work comes rewards. Why aren't we creating that as our focus as a community? I'm sure my comments here tonight will be met by criticism in an effort to belittle these concerns. My intent is not to air dirty laundry, but rather speak the truth. Let's recognize what is really going on here in Scottsdale. Let's recognize the excellent teaching and learning that takes place. Let's learn to value honest input from our community schools.
The sign is stop, Julie.
Let's
It's
learn.
been up more than once. But let's be respectful of the process.
I'm almost there, thank you.
It says stop when it says stop.
Forward together as a supportive and unified school district. Thank you.
Michelle Seek.
Thank you. All right. The handbook examples shared the other night at the study session are from districts who do have teacher employment agreements in place. Some may call them handbooks. Leaders from those districts have looked to Scottsdale's TEA to improve their own employment agreements. Altering our rights by unilaterally changing the TEA and calling it a handbook only delegitimizes our past work history. I ask you to seriously consider this and to please honor our interests and our voices. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to item 6. The board president next calls upon Dr. Birdwell to present the superintendent's comments.
Governing Board, welcome back to welcome to the new school year of 2017-18. Again, certainly hasn't gone off without completely no hitches, but certainly gone off with a great deal of excitement at the building level with the principals and their staff. The numbers are still fluctuating till the 10th day, so we don't have the enrollments to celebrate this evening or to talk about, but I will say that we have 185 new teachers to welcome, just as we did last year. We had 185 last year to welcome, and the year before 170 some. So we didn't lose any more teachers than we had the prior year, and we're happy that we're almost full. We do have a couple positions that are open, gifted, ELL, and math we continue to look for. So we'll be looking at some hiring practices in the future that we can get ahead of some of those. Students did return to their schools where they found their schools ready. Thankful to the staff that got those schools ready, but also I want to thank the district staff that did do some amazing work this summer. Later in the board meeting, you'll get to hear from Dennis Rayler and his team, and we want to officially at this time thank them for the extra work. Let me just say this, it's not just custodians, it's electricians, it's carpenters, it's all of the plumbers, the trades, those folks who came in and got us ready for the startup, and we thank them very much for that extra work. In addition, as I said earlier, we rolled out 1,520 laptops, and that is because of a capital override. So let me at this time again thank the voters for the support of teachers and students in continuing to provide us with the important capital items that are necessary for instruction. New program, and this is not a program like the gentleman earlier referred to. This is a gifted pre-K academy, a class where we have now opened up to a younger set of students in the gifted area. And we have this particular school at Redfield Elementary. I want to thank the principal and teacher Meltzer for their leadership And again, we want to also congratulate Desert Canyon Elementary School, who now have 2 kindergarten classes splitting their day between Mandarin and English. And so to the Desert Canyon Elementary School, what a great night. 29 schools hosted the Meet the Teacher night, so our teachers got to meet their students. And then we have curriculum nights coming up. They are different. One is Meet Your Teacher. The other is this is what your student will learn in class. We encourage parents to attend those curriculum nights. Hopefully we won't have the rain that we had on Meet the Teacher night. Hopefully we'll avoid that. And finally, I want to again bring attention to the Educational Foundation and thank them for all the mini grants, but we also have the gala coming up in just a few weeks, September the 9th at the Phoenician. And this year, the inductees into the Foundation Hall of Excellence are 2 members of Chaparral High School, the class of 1994, Channel 3, Jamie, and I'm not even going to begin to pronounce the last. Thank you. Soretta? And former Major League Baseball first baseman and Firebird standout Paul Kernurko. We hope you're there, that you're able to attend and celebrate with them. And last, we want you to put on your calendar early. We have the showcase, SUSD Showcase, from 10 to 11 at Cocoa Palm Middle School on October the 21st. Last year, we had about 3,000 individuals attend that, so mark your calendars early. To the teachers who are here this evening, thank you for voicing your thoughts. We always welcome input from all of our teachers and our staff across the district.
Thank you, Dr. Birdwell. We'll move on to item 7, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended? Board Member Hartman. So moved. Thank you. Do I have a second? It's up to you.
You want me to read some things so you can second items too?
That's fine. Thank you, Board Member Kravitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. All right. Now we will move on to our information discussion items. We will start, let's see. Yes, we did move that. Okay, so we're going to start with item 8C, SUSD program choice and academic rigor.
President Perleberg, members of the board, I'm back again. It's the same presentation, but if you have other questions that have come up since last Thursday, I'd be happy to answer those. I'm going to move through this a little faster than I did last time, but cover the same basic information. I was asked to provide to you the information on what choice programs we have in the district, talk a little bit about transportation, and then I'm going to take the concept of rigor and relate the two together. First of all, in the elementary schools, we have some, and when I say choice programs, these are schools that have school-wide programs that folks from all over the place can enroll into. For example, Desert Canyon Elementary School is a Mandarin immersion program. They've started this year with kindergarten and will build on that, adding 1 grade per year each year. Navajo Elementary has a STEAM focus throughout their school. We have the Spanish immersion classes, and this is a school-wide program now at Pueblo Elementary School. Echo Canyon uses the concept of looping, where students stay with the same teacher for 2 years. We have our traditional program at Cheyenne, and coming next year, we have the traditional program at Pima. In the middle schools, Mountainside has an IB middle years program in the works, so that will be coming soon. We have a traditional program again at Cheyenne for grades 6, 7, 8, and Mojave is the continuation of the Spanish immersion program from Pueblo. In our high schools, we currently have the IB program, grades 11 and 12 at Desert Mountain High School, and they are working on adding the grades 9, 10 middle years program. And at Saguaro, we have both the Math and Science Academy and the Healthcare Assistant program, while at Chaparral, we have a Culinary Arts program. And all of these programs attract students from across our district and from outside of our district. The bus with the question mark there tells you, do we bus students from across our district or from locations in our district to those programs? Since last time, it was interesting that Michelle Marshall pointed out in our transportation policy that we actually go above and beyond what the policy says. The policy talks about regular transportation and gifted, and that's all it talks about. However, we do have some satellite busing to Echo Canyon, Cheyenne, and we do bus students from each of our high schools to Desert Mountain, Saguaro, and Chaparral for those programs. I also added at the bottom, these are qualifying programs that we house at our schools across the district. Qualifying meaning students must qualify to be in those programs. We have multiple classes of special education at all 3 levels. Self-contained gifted at both Hopi and Redfield for the elementary side, and at Desert Canyon Middle, Ingleside, and Mojave for the middle schools. And so those are the specialized programs that we currently offer, and you can see that we have a coming program, one that's in the works at elementary, middle, and high school. And so before I move on, did you think of any other questions you have about the choice programs moving forward? All right. So let me try to tie together this piece with a piece on rigor. Rigor is something that we certainly see across our district in many classrooms, but what our goal is for that consistency to be every day, every classroom, and making the best learning environment possible for all of our students. Now, to do that, we have to all be talking about the same thing. And one of the things that's going to happen on the 30th for our first early release day is that all of our principals will be spending part of that time on that Wednesday having some discussions with their staff about rigor, making sure everybody's on the same page with some definitions, understanding what we're talking about. And so you can see up there a couple of definitions about what rigor is. And it's hard to pinpoint exactly what rigor is, but the second one, the Blackburn definition, is widely used across the nation. Rigor is creating an environment in which each student is expected to learn at high levels, and each is supported so he or she can learn at a high level, and each student demonstrates learning at high levels. And what I'm trying to do with this, the first chart in the presentation on rigor, is to make the point in the 3rd paragraph that rigor is not defined by the type of school. Example, traditional schools can have high or low rigor. STEM schools can be rigorous or not. A conventional neighborhood school may or may not have high degrees of rigor. It's what happens within the school, not the type of school, that really makes a difference. And again, you saw all these last Thursday. These are just some examples, certainly not an exhaustive list, but some examples about what to look for in terms of deciding, is this lesson, is this classroom, is this presentation rigorous? For example, making sure students understand lesson objectives and the performance outcomes, engaging students, asking students to explain their learning and their thinking, making sure that the activities are engaging activities and that they can apply what they've learned.
Thank you. I'll just interrupt you just for a second.
Absolutely.
Ms. Como, can we note that Board Member Kirby was able to join us at 6:01? Thank you. Sorry for that.
Let me just add a few more on here, and again, I'm not going to read all of them, but that teaching is clearly and directly related to the standards and the curriculum. Classroom treats students and their ideas with dignity and respect, and you can see what some of the characteristics of a rigorous classroom are. And again, this is not all of them. This is a sample, an example for you. And then finally, the chart that kind of brings us all together. On the left-hand side, an instructional focus can come in many, many different ways. We have conventional neighborhood schools across our district, and then there's a whole list of other types of school-wide programs that you might see. We have some of those. Some of those you'll find in neighboring districts. The middle column really says that any or all of those programs can have high rigor or low rigor. It really depends on what happens within each of these. No one program, because of what it is always high rigorous and high rigor program. So it really depends on what happens within the school. And then finally, on the right-hand side, the quality of education is not strictly rigor. While we give students knowledge, we also have to help them apply that knowledge and bring it to real-life situations for them. We need to make sure students are motivated and engaged, that there are opportunities for acceleration, and that instruction is meaningful to them as they move forward. And when you put all of that together, the type of school, making sure there's high rigor, and making sure that you have the quality of instruction, then you've arrived at where we want to be. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Board Member Hartman?
Dr. Nance, just thank you for the presentation, and no additional questions from Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Just as exciting as the first time, Dr. Nance. Thank you. All right, we will move on to our next information discussion item, 8A, AZ Merit and Ames Science Results. Oh, another riveting discussion. Here we go.
Dr. McCauley.
Good evening, President Perleberg, Vice President Kirby, members of the Governing Board, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, and guests here with us tonight. I'm honored to be able to share information about last spring's state assessment results and perhaps celebrate some of the greatest achievements that occurred across our district. Then I'm going to provide information about how we use this data to achieve the vision of the district of ensuring all individual students reach their full potential. Sandra, is my...
It's not on the screen, it's on the email.
Okay. I will just pull that email up. I am not seeing it here.
It's got to be sent again.
Is it older than Steve's? Getting more riveting by the moment, isn't it?
Exactly. The suspense is killing us. All kidding aside, these are exciting numbers to look at. I will admit.
I've been very excited to share this information.
I'm surprised you don't have them memorized, honestly.
Steve's
That's great.
What are you saying? No, that's Steve's.
Oh, that's program. Yeah, you're right. That's Steve's.
Thanks anyways.
That's your own there.
All right. Yay. Okay, so tonight I'll be sharing the AZ Merit and Ames Science and a little bit of the trend data. What's important to note is I am presenting this in the form of student level gains across the years. We've already seen the grade level comparisons, so I thought tonight, rather than give you a rerun of what you've been seeing since the summer, I'd show you another way of looking at this data and provide you insight into the meaningfulness of looking at it this way. This is a true apples to apples comparison, so we're not comparing last year's fourth grade to this year's fourth grade. We're actually looking at how students have moved from third to fourth, from third to fourth to fifth, for example. Why would I do this? Why would any of us do this? Comparing one cohort to another definitely does have value to helping us move that needle. For example, sometimes it helps us identify consistently low-performing grade levels, and it will also help assist us in modifying our alignment of the curriculum if we do see that occurring. That said, when we compare students to themselves, this has a greater value to moving the needle for the individual students. Remember our vision of ensuring all individual learners reach their full potential. So we used both of this data to create a complete picture to help us improve and keep reaching for greater lengths. Also, focusing on the individual students fosters the appropriate goal setting needed for continuous improvement planning at the site level. So here are, for this year, I did jot some notes down so I don't bore you by reading every line item on here. So I'm just going to talk about the highlights. In this year, for our 2-year gains, we saw the greatest gains in ELA from grades 3rd to 4th and 6th to 7th, and the greatest gains in math were from 7th to 8th grade and 8th grade to algebra. Now I included an estimate of what the state's student level gains look like, and now unlike what I can do with our data where I can literally only include students who have those 2 scores, I don't have that luxury with the state. However, if you remember last year when I talked about central limit theorem, when you have very large numbers, you can get to a very close approximation, and so that is the method used here. So what I found when I looked at this is that we were very similar in the areas where we went down year to year. In the state, when we went down 5th to 6th, I saw the same trend for the state. 7th to 8th, this is an ELA. 9th to 10th, and 10th to the 11th grades. The state also downtrended in those grades. In math, we saw that we were similar to the state in 5th to 6th grade and algebra to geometry. There were not any areas that I could see, though, where we went down, but the state went up. The next slide shows you what that same comparison looked like for last year, the 15 to 16 school year, where our greatest gains were in math. So we had 3rd to 4th, and then 8th grade to algebra 1. We had good gains in ELA, but I kind of set a threshold of 9 points or above to highlight as greatest gains. The similarities we had with the state were in ELA from grade 8 to 9 and 10 to 11, and then in math from 5th to 6th. There were 2 areas, though, where we went down, but the state did not, and that was in ELA grade 7 to 8 and in math from algebra to geometry. That was where we diverged last year for our 2-year trend. I also, just to give you a visual, if you can see it, put the 2 side by side. I also wanted to see, okay, so we started AZ Merit in 2015, and now we're in 2017. What have our gains been from 2015 to 2017? And our greatest gains were from 3rd grade to 5th grade, and 5th grade to 7th grade in ELA, and in math from 3rd to 5th, 6th to 8th, from 7th grade to algebra 1, and from 8th grade to geometry. We were just down from the state in ELA 7th to 9 in that 3-year analysis. I also wanted to look at what we're really trying to do is move kids up to proficiency, maintain highly proficient, move kids from proficient to highly proficient and maintain our highly proficient kids in that place. And we had several schools across the district where they had 100% of the kids who were highly proficient remaining highly proficient in a grade level and content area. But I just want to highlight first our greatest gains from proficient to highly proficient was in math from grades 4 to 5, 6 to 7, and then 7th grade to algebra 1. Remember, we didn't double test our 8th graders this year, and that's why I have this 7th to algebra 1 there. And then our greatest areas where we maintained highly proficient status was in ELA grades 6 to 7 and math 4 to 5.
Thank you. And Ms. Como, Board Member Beckham has been able to join us at 6:13 this evening. Thank you.
Welcome, Board Member Beckham. Now we'll move on to AIM Science. In AIM Science, this is going to be a grade level comparison because we don't test science each year in each grade level. We only test in grades 4, 8, and then 9th and 10th. And it's really not fair to try to measure growth, and we just don't do that. There's too many years in between. So here is what our 3-year trends looked like in math. And individual schools had some really great gains, but overall for the district, we're still well above the state average, but the area that we grew the most was in 10th graders taking AIM Science, and we were slightly down in grade 4 and 8 by 1%, very marginal, and then more so in grade 9. So now I'm going to talk about how we use this data. And I'm going to put it in the context of what we did at the Admin Academy this summer. So we had several days of trainings with the principals and assistant principals, and on day 1, Dr. Treat and Michael Roberts did some great professional learning community training. They did this great notes on the floor activity where they asked all of the administrators in the room to list all of the challenges they have in moving the needle for students. And then what they did was they asked which ones of these, after they stuck all these notes up on the wall, which of these are out of your control? And then they tossed the ones that were out of their control on the floor, and they said, we're not going to talk about those because we can't do anything about them. Then they moved on to a team working activity, and then went through the PLC format, and then gave them some samples of how to monitor progress throughout the year. On day 2, it was really nice because I got to fuse the two areas together by going through with the principals and assistant principals SMART goals being specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So we had great discussion, gave a couple of examples, and then we tied that back to their PLC work and establishing SMART goals there, developing those, and then we did a data dialogue activity. So in order to do the activity, what principals were provided was a template for the data dialogue, data charts for the activity, and then a location where I could share data with them that they could go out and find that included multiple charts and aggregate data tables, and then student level raw files so they could actually look kid to kid. And here is a little bit of, actually I'm just going to walk you through what the data dialogue does. So the first thing you do with the data dialogue is you make your predictions. I asked them to consider how they had predicted the students would perform and what their assumptions were. And so that was the first step. The next step was, now that you've thought about what your predictions were, now you're going to observe the data and start your analysis. So what they had to do was look for patterns. What trends did they see? And then I asked them to identify the grade levels and subjects that they saw in need of improvement. And that could even be not necessarily that they were doing poorly, but they knew they could even stretch the kids further. Then I asked them to target 2 areas that they would use to write a goal on. And they had to put in the information from the data that I gave them. So once they had that all together, the next step in this process is to start making those inferences. When you're observing the data, you're not trying to yet come up with your theories as to what happened until you get all that down and you identify the areas that look like they could need some enhancement. Now they can start making their inferences. So this is where I had them reflect on the data. The questions they have to answer: were the results a surprise to you? Why or why not? what new questions jump out at you looking at this data? And I know all of us, when we look at the data, we do the head tilting, we squint, and we go, huh, we do that quite a bit. And then I challenge them to think of other information they would need to shed light on those unanswered questions. And then, how satisfied are you with the results? This is a true reflection piece to really get them thinking about the data. So then, what they're tasked with is to actually write their goals based on the 2 areas they identified. And again, they have to be smart. They can't be vague. We can't have these, we're going to increase rigor in 4th grade. That's not specific, it's not measurable, so on and so on. And then they're asked to list the steps they would take to achieve the goal, asked how they would monitor and measure progress toward the goal, and then asked how they would know they've achieved the goal. And this is all the kind of work that you do in a professional learning community, and you can do it even with your interim formative assessments. So just to give you an idea of the types of data that were provided, this is a sample school. They were given their 2-year trends, and I actually just wrote a little algorithm to give them some narrative to the data as well for people who like words better than numbers. Oops. Then I gave them information on their performance level gains. So this was how many students actually, it says gain in minimally proficient, but we want those to be negative numbers and we want those to be large, I guess small negative numbers. And then from partially proficient, proficient, and highly proficient. And then here's another sample. I broke out those normal curve equivalents across the years and did it by grade level and subject for them. And this is just 3 of 10 different charts and other data that I provided in their shared folders. So that's what we do with the data, but we're not done. We have a lot more to do. So what's next for us? One of the things that I'm working with the data team on is establishing a data advisory group composed of principals and assistant principals that'll help us with validating the data. We're dealing with very large data sets. We need a little help sometimes, and when they know their campus really well, they can say, hey, that doesn't look right, and work with us there, and then help us identify the data that is most useful to them, because everybody has their particular flavor of data that helps them best. Then progress monitoring via district interim formative assessments will be happening this year. We're going to have 3, we're calling them DIFAs this year, of 22 to 25 items that are aligned to the curriculum maps and given throughout the year. What's really great, and I'll be showing the principals this on Thursday at the principals meeting, is there's some really great features in our student assessment system where they can take a report of item analyses that'll tell them item by item how many students selected answer choice A, B, C, D, and it gives them a percentage. And then another great document is the assessment summary that lists out by item, tells you what the standards were. It'll give you the item type, whether it was multiple choice, multiple response, evidence-based. No, that's SAT. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting what that one is. But, and then it'll also give you a difficulty level, and then it'll show you which standards are aligned along the Bloom's taxonomy. And then this is the part that's really, really exciting, is it'll show you the rationales for why students might have selected a particular answer, which is really speaking to what the misconception about why they selected the wrong answer. And now they can take their item analysis and say 85% chose B and it was wrong, and it's going to tell them this might be the misconception they had and list that out. Okay, moving on to the next thing we're working on is an analysis that will give us a magnitude of impact. So last year, if you'll remember, when I talked about the normal curves, I said, basically, if your residual from one year to the next is 0 or positive, we can at least say it's 1 year of growth. We're going to try to actually quantify that to a magnitude that's going to go right along with their McCrell training, where they're learning about effect sizes, and hopefully be able to roll that out. We've got to make sure it looks good, or that it works, and that it's valid. We'll be using Cohen-D's effect size, for those of you interested. And then next too, I think on August 26th, updated internal accountability system metrics. We're about halfway done populating that data. Something that is, at least in my mind, is individual student reports that'll really, for each student, give more detail than is given by the state. And the state is actually, I just found out today, working toward that end as well. So they might do half this work for me. And then analysis of gains across time on Ames versus AZ Merit. That question has come up quite a lot. We're seeing huge strides on AZ Merit, but Ames were smaller in certain areas. So kind of get a handle on that and looking at, could it be changing cut scores and other variables that were at play. Questions? Thoughts?
Board Member Hartman.
Okay, now I can put on my glasses.
Well, I didn't have that on quite yet, but
sorry.
I'm ready.
Oh, you were flashing there.
Yeah.
All right.
So a couple of just initial questions. First of all, Dr. McCauley, you are the woman for this job, I have to say. It is impressive. Just a couple questions, and you and I actually sent back a lot of emails on this, so I had a lot of questions, but thank you. You responded to all of them, and I just wanted to highlight a couple that I thought were interesting, and then just some couple questions that came out from this discussion.
Okay.
Gosh, my first question, I don't know which slide it is. I know in our board book it's page 63. It's the 3-year gains of students with scores from 2015 to 17. And my question is, and you did do you want to pull it up first, or do you want me to just ask the question? Whatever's easier.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could do that. It'd be bigger up there than on my...
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that is impressive. You can even find that needle in a haystack. So.
Mine's only 27 slides.
So the question I had, that you actually did a little bit of analysis, and it may be on another slide, but I just know it's from my notes. So when we looked at SUSD's 2-year gain, the average gain for ELA was 7 points, and then math was 10 points.
Oh, right, when you aggregate it across all the grade levels.
Exactly.
Yes.
So how does that, so that seems impressive to me. How does that compare, that average, so to the Arizona? So Arizona is, you know, it's a range right there.
Okay, so I have to run that. So what Arizona provides me, where I have to calculate this, is they'll give me an N count, and then they'll give me a percentage, and then I have to, and they'll do it for each grade level. And so I can multiply the N count times the percentage to come up with the N count of passing, and then I'll have to aggregate that across all the grade levels by each subject. I can do that. I just don't, I probably already did. I just don't have it with me.
Okay. So I would be in. Oh,
I did do that.
you? Okay.
Oh, no,
I know
didn't.
you did it.
I know I did. I can't remember off the top of my head. 4 points and 5 points. 4 points in the LA and 5 points in math. Wasn't it?
Well, so that would be just a follow-up question, but if it's in that magnitude, that neighborhood, so we're almost twice the growth in those 2 years in SUSD compared to state.
Okay. I'm going to have to double check.
Okay, that would be
It
great.
doesn't sound right. Sorry.
That'd be great. And then I know we like to compare ourselves beyond state?
Okay, I really did some Googling last night, trying so hard to find the district. In fact, I even found a really great list where I can find comparables even better than another method I was using that's been published, because I can look at, it's got their free and reduced lunch, it's got all their demographic data and then their proficiency, so I'm going to be able to identify them. So I started with them, went to every district website. Nobody published their data yet. They're waiting on the state to do the big state file. The only school districts I even saw touching it was TUSD and some rural districts, and that was it. But nobody else shared their data with their public yet.
There are a couple states that use the same merit test that we use, and what we can do is as soon as they get published, we can go out and see if we can look at some national trend data as well.
Okay.
The early research 3 years ago when we brought AZ Merit in, they weren't expecting more than like 2 points gain in any 1 year, given the states that they were looking at. And clearly, our statistics have proven differently. So it'll be interesting now, 3 years down the road, to look at what other states have done so we can look at a national level. Is the trend data consistent to those after 3 years of using this particular test?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get is comparative, because it looks good, but how does that compare, right?
Yes, and I'll be looking, because I know the states that did, even the smarter balanced states, as long as they set their cut scores high and didn't lower them because they were allowed to do lower levels, and I'll find the ones that have, that correlate really well with ours. And the one I'm really excited about is Massachusetts.
Yeah.
They actually, what they did was their State Department did correlations with PARC and the state test that they developed years ago and had been using, and found that they were just as good at predicting college success as the PARC was. So they got permission to use the MCAS, and that one will be another one that I can use for equivalency.
Okay, that'd be great. And then I had a follow-up question. I was kind of interested in Tanalea K-8, because one of the reasons for that consolidation was to address the gaps between the ES and the middle school. And I tried to dig out that data. It actually looks pretty phenomenal, actually. And so that's, I think, worth sharing as well, or at least in understanding.
Yes, so Tanalea, what they make up for in growth, what they lack in proficiency, because they are growing and they are a school on this journey. And so their growth has been phenomenal. In fact, when we did our accolades at all of the learning communities, they had the most number of grade levels and subjects that maintained 100% highly proficient. And they had some of the greatest growth.
Yeah, and so one of the aspects of this data, and particularly at Tanalea, Dr. Fuller and I met and began to talk about, as you look at this data and you look from year to year and identify, so we're working with beginning to create the assessment that looks at the high school students to identify the gaps. So if we look at the freshmen and say, you've made it to the freshman year, and here are the pieces that are missing, how do we target tutoring and intervention for the gaps, and then go back down into the elementary and the middle level and address that now, so we're closing those gaps from both sides. So that's the next step of this, which is really exciting because you have the data to work with. We have the points where we can pinpoint the consistency of those gaps, but also on an individual level, so that the high school, as they begin the tutoring process, they're able to work with that individual students on skill sets that have been created over a 5-year period or 6-year period, begin to close that while I'm trying to move you forward, say in algebra. And that's a really critical piece to truly understand targeted tutoring versus homework time. And in working with Dr. Fuller and having some conversations with our executive leadership team, we're really excited about that rollout this year and working with Tanalea and bringing the middle school and the high school teachers together to identify those pieces, so that then the middle school teacher knows this is a piece I need to hit before they get to that freshman year. And then that just rolls all the way down into the 4th grade. I'm very excited about the work, but this is the data that helps us get there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you to all the teachers that are focused behind these numbers, making this actually happen. It's really, really amazing progress, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Board Member Kirby.
Thank you, Dr. McCauley. Board Member Hartman and I looked at this data, sounds like through very similar lenses. I picked out many of the same things that she did, including the fact that Scottsdale Unified appeared to gain faster than the state average. But for those who know me well, know I'm not really interested in state averages.
Right.
Although I understand it's all you had, and we definitely needed something to benchmark ourselves against. So I do appreciate and recognize the value of it tonight. When do you believe, or what is your understanding of when the districts will be publicly released?
I understand that will come when the A through F labels are released.
Which is approximately?
That is August 30th. August 30th, it'll be embargoed, and then the 31st, it will become public.
At the moment?
Okay.
Yes.
So, and I...
What that is, yes.
Okay, and
in
so I
pencil.
understand that's...
Moving target, just as long as the public knows it's a moving target. We hope.
Because while I understand that the state is definitely an average, and there are how many districts that contribute to that
Right.
average, I'm hopeful. And what I'll be looking for is that Scottsdale Unified starts to climb in the rankings of the top 10. Because the last time I looked at it, which has been a couple of years, I believe, I think we were sitting at number 8 in the state. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be number 1.
I agree.
It's because we have an amazing community to make that happen. So I'll be looking for that. And then so when that is published, if you don't mind doing
yes.
your gymnastics to help me see that. The other question I had
Yes.
is, again, along the lines of national metrics, how delayed are SAT or ACT results by district? Like, do they publish them on a
Not by-
fairly
they don't do
reasonable?
it by
Are they like
district.
several years behind?
So by district, I can't really see district level, but I can see state level. And so what I usually do when I'm trying to compare ACT and SAT, I pick those top states and pretend that's the top district. Again, I look at Massachusetts, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. Those are really high performing, high achieving.
But we can't see where our students are with respect to those other states. It will only be Arizona,
Yep,
correct?
I can get Arizona's norms, but I can't get other districts. Although I can propose to the brown bag group, that's the other people like me in the state, to see if I can get some to share.
Okay.
Some are very willing, but they're not always the ones that are our comparables.
Okay, it's just something that I would be interested in. I don't know if my fellow board members are interested in those two metrics, but.
Is Helios sharing any of that data at this stage? Because we, about 5-6 years ago, some districts early adopted into Helios to look at our state data. And what we were discovering is that our ACTs were really only being taken by a slim number of students. So what Helios did was help districts expand that to all the students, so we could begin to kind of norm, when you looked at every student, where were those tests hitting? And I don't know how much of that they're sharing, but we certainly can give them a call. And it's been a while since you and I went and visited Helios. We
Yep.
should go visit again.
Mm-hmm, we should.
Or
and
even-
and
We'd love
they
to have
usually
data
do.
talks with them.
Or even PSAT, I'll throw that one in there too. Because, refresh my memory, is Scottsdale Unified doing something different this year with either 8th grade, PSAT, something?
Yes.
We talked
Yeah.
about it. Do you mind recapping?
Dr.
8th grade
Nance?
will do the
I don't wanna
ACT
put anyone on the
Aspire.
spot.
ACT
Aspire, and it'll be all the same content areas as ACT, and it is a predictor of ACT. And all of our juniors, we will be administering the ACT test too, and this is at no charge to
All
the
students.
students.
Okay, so Aspire is for 8th graders, is that right? And so all 8th graders will be taking that test? Will that be during the school day? So it's-
Yes.
Okay, and then all juniors will be taking
ACT.
ACT, at no cost, again, also during the school day?
Yep.
Also during the school day.
And the
That's great.
ACT Aspire will give us a lot of great information to help us improve achievement for those students by the time and get them on track to get the highest score on ACT possible. And
Okay.
ACT's done a great job of creating a map of how to do that.
Okay, great. And it's also offering an opportunity to many students who might not, who might think they can't, and we'll be able to help them see where they can.
Yeah, it does that exact piece, and that is for students who didn't think they had the skill set, it reiterates that. The other piece that we don't show here, but I just want to reiterate to the governing board is when we look at assessment, assessment helps us look at, are there missing pieces of curriculum? And we've been able to begin to identify where we need to beef that curriculum up. And so it's really important to hear this message when a parent or a teacher, a team looks at data. It's not just about instruction. It's about curriculum and instruction coming together for that assessment. So there are many times in here when we're looking at pieces and we can actually draw it back to a curricular weakness that needs to be addressed. So I know that Ms. Redner is busy working in the curriculum world. So we begin to look at this from a curriculum as well as looking at instructional. So it's not all about the instruction. Yes, it does reflect on instruction to some extent, but it's not singly alone to look at this and say, oh, the teachers didn't deliver. That's not true. That's not what we're saying by data.
Right.
We're saying data helps teach us how to do better with curriculum and the standards, and then assessing that piece.
And I want to add too, I recently heard a speaker on this. It's not just about the data, it's also the face behind the data, which are the students. And I know many schools are, and not maybe all of them, I don't know, are giving goals to our students. And in fact, it was, I don't know if it was Tonelay or Coronado, but they were Coronado freshmen who just were celebrated because they all met their personal goals. And when we get that kind of culture taking hold and spreading across our district, our kids will really begin to believe they can. And they get those wins under their belt, and it will just snowball, and the momentum will be fabulous.
And I just want to say thank you for bringing that example forward, because data can be used to inspire. It can be used to grow excitement. It should never be used as a hammer. It should always be about learning from the data so that we are student learning in that regard. So thank you for bringing that example.
And you're absolutely right. There is research that shows when students are motivated best and achieve the greatest gains when they are focused on their own goals and not comparing themselves to the other students. The competition is with themselves.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll jump in at this time and just echo that sentiment. My children were at an elementary school where they were very much brought in individually. I'm looking at someone in particular here. They were brought in individually. Where's Ms. Redner as well? I see you hiding back there. And sat down and explained, you're 2 questions away from highly performing. Do you realize that? And my children never complained about that. They understood the expectations and the goals laid out ahead of them. And I know for a fact it made them work harder. So I'm here to attest that I think that will be true for our entire district. I also want to thank you on that note as well for including this data dialogue component to all of this, because that is ultimately the most important thing with this data, taking it to our sites, taking it to our instructional leadership at our sites, and helping improve instruction, helping improve curriculum, with this data, and I'm glad it's highlighted here as well, rather than, again, just a bunch of numbers to either scare us or just pat ourselves on the back, one way or the other. What this says tonight is we got work to do ahead of us, and we know where to start, and I think that's terrific. So, Board Member Beckham, your light is on also.
Thank you, Dr. McCauley. I just want to echo that I support everything that the board has said so far, and I think that it's a testament to what this district has needed and what the board and the administration has wanted. And I think that one of those highlights is that ACT and the ACT Aspire, and to doing it for no cost, because I think it really, in the long term, will make a huge difference for every single student. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Board Member Kravitz.
Nothing profound here, but I've sat in meetings before where we've gone through data, and I don't always understand numbers, but I appreciate all the information you've given us comparing year to year and growth, which, correct me if I'm wrong, to my colleagues who've served before, I don't think they've been provided this kind of information in the past. I don't recall seeing it. So I appreciate the depth, the breadth, also the explanation of how the data will be used and can be helpful in terms of the growth of our students and being a tool to be helpful in the classroom. So I know it's your job, but thank you.
All right. That's all for questions, comments. Thank you very much.
That's it for, hey, so principals out there, we appreciate Dr. McCauley and her data.
Thank you. And I appreciate their interest in the data. Dr. Birdwell, who sits with me and nerds out and talks to me about this data and gives me challenging questions and talks to me about goal setting and really helps me develop into being able to create this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we will move on now to information discussion, item 8B, update on summer 2017 construction projects. Dennis, you are finally up. We tried to have you second, but you got bumped to third. Sorry about that.
Okay, so we're promising Dennis next time you are number one.
I'll talk to Steve later. Good evening, President Perleberg, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra. Number one, remember me. It has been a crazy, crazy busy summer in building services. For those principals in the audience that have not met me yet, I'll turn around. I'm Dennis Railer. I'm the Director of Building Services, and I am very proud to say that we have a tremendous team working out of Building Services. We are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we have a group of folks that operate out of that building that put their heart and souls into this district. The slideshow that you're seeing is just a small sampling of the work that was accomplished over the summer. Some of it bond, some of it override, some of it just M&O, some of it Mother Nature trying to destroy our day. We made great progress throughout the summer. We've still got more work to do. We promised the emergency lockdown process. We promised cameras. You voted on that today to move forward with that in your consent agenda items. So we've got more work to do, and we will get it done. This district has lagged in deferred maintenance for many years, and it is my promise to you and all of the principals and teachers in this district that we will get the work done. It'll take us a little bit of time, but we will get it done. Dr. Barnes, we've known, where'd he go? There he is. Dr. Barnes was my children's principal over in Litchfield School District, and we literally started out his time here in Scottsdale in the frying pan. Anasazi was completely upside down with a flooring project, and then, as luck would have it, the air conditioning broke. for a part that was 3,000 miles away. So welcome, Mr. Barnes. We're glad to be a part of this district, and I know that my team will continue working really, really hard to get the work done. Questions?
We just want to thank the voters again, for those that log on that aren't with us this evening. This work in getting these schools caught up could not be done without the support of our voters, and particularly with our bond. What I really appreciate about Dennis and his team is they have put together a 12-month plan. It really never stops. They'll be in the buildings at nighttime. They will, everything from remove the furniture, change out the carpet, put the furniture back, and the teacher shows up the next day with new carpet. So this is going to go on all year. We're now on a schedule, and things are rolling, and I just cannot say enough about the leadership in this area. The other piece I want to commend him on, when we're getting a call from a principal and we are actually getting a response that's this rapid, we appreciate it from a building leadership standpoint, and I'm hearing from the principals how much they appreciate. You answer your calls, you fix the issues, you're immediately on the spot.
Thank you, Dr. Birdwell. That is definitely something that I pride myself on, that our department is here to serve, and we will continue to do that. It may not have been the attitude that was here before, but it is here now, and I know I've got the support from my team to get it done. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Move on to our final information discussion item, 8D, Reflections on Opening Week, Part 2.
Yeah, so governing board, we have one principal. I believe the middle level is going to bring us together here. I think it's Dr. Thurman is going to come in and visit with us. We heard about what it was like for an elementary principal to take those professional development days and look at how those rolled. We heard from our high school at Coronado High School and the enthusiasm from both Christine Kingborn and then from Chris Gilmore. But here's the middle level and what it looked like at his school.
Yeah. If I can. Did we get the PowerPoint up here? Okay. Well, we're going to go the old-fashioned way. Hold on. Give me just a second, and I'll find it. Sorry for the delay. I sent it to Aaron, Stephen, Dr. Johnson earlier. They said it would be up here. I don't know where it is. Not a big deal. Thank God for Google Apps. We can find it there quick. Yeah, don't remember that.
It's been a while since you've been in front of that computer. We have to make you visit more often.
Yeah, I have not been up here in a while. You're right. Okay, recents. This should be one of my last ones I did. Please be in there. Governing board right there. All right. Present. The anticipation is just killing everyone. So, Madam President, governing board members, apologize for our miscommunication on calendars Thursday, so I am glad to be here tonight to take care of the middle school's reflection on the opening week. No sound effect. I put a sound effect and I was not, didn't make it. So, middle school edition, that's Cocopa, Ingleside, Mountain, or Mojave, Mountainside, and Desert Canyon. All 5 sites, we collaborated and talked about things that we were proud of and things that were agreed upon by all 5 of us. First and foremost, our teacher leaders. Thank you for the new leadership structure and what you've given us to use at the middle school level. That went over with a huge success this summer, and our teacher leaders worked really hard over the summer with the teacher laptops and teachers training teachers and getting them out. That's it took a lot of work and a lot of patience, but I think in the end we did a really good job. I know we celebrated IT earlier, and I think that was well deserved. There's a lot of time this summer spent on PLCs and collective site expectations, all 5 of our sites, of what PLCs are, what they look like, and kind of where we want them to go moving forward. Dr. Treat and Mr. Roberts, well, Dr. Roberts, this summer did a training with the principals that went over really well. I know a few of us stole a couple of their examples they used with us, which they're ripping the names off the board. One was fantastic. Our teachers like that. Continue clarity, conversation around clarity about your goals, your vision as a board. We did that with all of our staffs. And the growth mindset in the classroom, what that means is something we started last year. We're going to continue. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So it's something we really want to focus on and make everything we do around student learning, high expectations, and really pushing everyone to be better. And just the additional time, having that full week where we could spread this stuff out, having the open house day. Some of our campuses did a second day where we do new student like orientation where kids come tour and I'll explain that in a second on one of our slides. So I have a couple slides just from each site. Principal Link at Desert Canyon said one of his big celebrations was the STEAM training they did. Those are his teachers and working on some STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Working on some projects with that. Desert Canyon, he was really proud of what they did there. Mountainside, what you're seeing here on the pictures from Ms. Kellen and Mountainside is they talk about their passport day, which is on Friday, the Friday before school starts. They bring back all the new students. So your 6th graders who are all new to Mountainside, and then your new 7th and 8th graders as well. They come back, they have a little check sheet, and they go around and learn about roles, responsibilities, and things in the school. So kind of an orientation before the big first day on Monday. The whole staff was involved. They had all their teachers and staff involved doing it. It's an annual thing that Mountainside does, and she was very, very happy with the success of it. Ingleside, those are pictures from our open house night. We had about 675 families sign in at Ingleside for open house on Tuesday night. We also do a passport style day on Friday as well, and we had over 700 families come Friday and get student IDs and take care of paperwork before the first day of school, so we didn't have to take a whole day out of the school day the first week of school to do pictures and all that stuff. Our staff enjoyed that. Our staff is happy that they didn't have to have a whole day of just hauling people around school for whenever they're getting their ID pictures done. So that was actually, we snapped some pictures during the lunchtime, because when they follow their schedules on open house, there's a time for lunch, and they come to the cafeteria and see myself and some other staff. So we had really good success at Ingleside with that. Mr. Noonan from Kokopah gave a couple bullet points. I will not read them extensively. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Hi, Mr. Noonan. Thank you for your bullet points. Just explaining similar things that we talked about, right? Just the great things that they're doing there, and the instructional leaders, the AZ merit data, and the data dialogues that they're doing at Kokopah. And I think, as you saw Dr. McCauley earlier, the detail we're getting into now is a little confusing at times. Sorry, Dr. McCauley. We love it. There's times that my head's spinning, and I'm pretty good at data, but I do like it. I think all of us are very appreciative of the hard work you put in, and what we're starting to have now with our staff as an expectation. You already did, so you can.
So really the highlight of our days together was me putting up the Noonan 1975 family photo of all 10 kids and mom and dad, and having them guess which one was me. And I would say that the green leisure suit, they knocked out of the ballpark. They found out who I was. So.
And Mr. Osmussen from Mojave sent me a nice little summary of what they did, but I don't want to just butcher it and not do it service. So I asked Chris to join me to explain what he did with his staff regarding special ed. I think it would be a little more meaningful coming from him.
Thank you, Dr. Thimmett.
Thank you.
Board President, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra. Yeah, I just sent Dr. Thuman a copy of a book. We did have a lot of extra time, and so our teachers had a wonderful opportunity to get back together in PLCs and their professional learning communities and talk about what they wanted their students to know. They talked about how they were going to assess 12 essential learnings over the course of the year and have common formative assessments, at least 3 per quarter, and how we would differentiate our instruction and put our kids into flexible groupings, those that are understanding, those are not, those are kind of getting it, and then getting a reteach in, extension in, and enrichment in. That, with the additional time, we also had an opportunity as a faculty to take a quick look at this book that's called Both Sides of the Table. And it's a research book where the researcher, instead of doing interviews and observations in the world of special education, actually went to those that are living the experience and had moms and dads and students write their experiences in special education. At Mojave Middle School, we have approximately 80 students, either in our SCA program, social communication and academics, typically autism, folks that are identified with autism in that program, and then learning resource, those that are mainstreamed into our gen education programs. We have a large population of students that have special needs, and I felt it was very important for our faculty to spend some time thinking about what that really meant. So we took 3 excerpts out of this book. Our faculty read about 10 pages, 3 chapters, from 3 chapters, and had an opportunity to then experience what we ask our students to do to support some of their answers with claims and textual evidence, and then also had an opportunity to put themselves in the shoes of a mom that had a special needs child or a special needs child themselves. What we found through this reading is that oftentimes individuals are labeled, and it's deficit labeling. And we had an opportunity to show some empathy or feel some empathy in terms of what it feels like when your child has been identified as not developing at a normal rate when they're 3 years old, and how that must feel as a mom. And that led into a discussion of how we as a faculty will work together for all of the students on our campus, making sure that we're meeting the needs of all learners at Mojave. Then right after that, we went right into what does a facilitated IEP look like when we have a meeting and giving full attention to that family and full attention to that child. And that we got a commitment out of our staff that they will be at those meetings and they will attend and make sure that they're giving that family their full attention to meet the needs of their child.
Nice. I would never have done that any service, so thank you for coming up. I just have the closing slide, which is thank you guys, thank you for the board for the support you give us as site leaders. Our jobs aren't easy every day, and we know yours aren't either. So thank you for all you've been doing for us over the years, and here's to a great 2017-18.
Any questions or comments? No. Okay. No lights lit up here. Oh, Board Member Hartman.
I have one comment. No, you don't have to come back up. You're fine. You did a great job. I just want to say I've really enjoyed listening to the principals, both on Thursday and today. Maybe doing this every once in a while is worthwhile, but it's been really informative and I think useful, so I've appreciated it, so thank you.
Terrific. They get to come back when they get their continuous improvement plans written, and some of them will get elected to come and share those and drive those down to the teacher level. But to all of our leaders, thank you for what you do and for the great work and the leadership, and to the instructional leaders at your campuses. Again, I know I said thank you on the welcome back, but again, thank you for that partnership that is bringing us to the next level.
All right, thank you. And yes, I think we all agree with Board Member Hartman's comments. Excited to see our principals at these meetings. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to our action items, our action item rather. 9A, approval of award for RFQ number 18016, construction manager at risk for centralized kitchen project.
President Perleberg, Governing Board, Dr. Birdwell, and Sandra. I'd like to go through a couple of things before I ask for the recommendation and approval for this. I brought Patty up here. This is the first time that Patty has had an opportunity to sit at a committee where we had construction proposals that came in to do work for the district. And I felt it important that she be on that committee because she's the expert. And although it's a live campus and we have traffic situations that we want to consider, and we have safety that we have to consider, but I wanted Patty to talk a little bit about her experience before we go through this because I think it's very important that you understand.
Well, good evening, President Perleberg, members of the board, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra. It's fun to be up here again. Last time was at a work study. I just wanted to share a little bit about the process that we went through at awarding this construction bid. You know, I guess for Lewis to say it was my first time, it is not. I was actually on the CMR at Risk committee when we did high schools, and I was given 14 boxes with 280 responses that we had to go through over Christmas break. So to say that that was like my, I guess, indoctrination into it, I didn't know what I was doing, so this time I felt a little bit more secure in the fact that they only handed me 7 pamphlets about this big. That was amazing. But when we went through the project, what stood out as most important was the fact that this Oak Learning Academy has a current kitchen that operates 255 days out of the year. We're cranking out thousands of chicky buns, thousands of scoops of mashed potatoes every single day to customers every day that rely on these meals, from our youngest kids at 2 to our oldest kids at 18. So it's really important that this kitchen be operational. So we scored that the most, as the most weighted part of the score. And when, I don't know if you want me to talk about yet, okay, of like who we're awarding, but when we went through the proposals, what stood out to me is that the proposal that we're presenting to award, that company didn't just have a plan for what they were going to do that sounded canned or pretty basic. It was a very comprehensive, phased approach that really looked at items I didn't even think of that we needed to have operational during this 8 to 10 month building phase. So with that, I felt very, very confident in the award and felt that this is probably the best choice because of the fact that this kitchen does have to remain operational, which has not always been the case. In fact, I don't think of any kitchen that's remained in operation during building. So that was the most important thing that stood out to me, and I have to say it was much quicker than the last time I had to do this.
Thank you. Thank you, Patty. Well, in total, there were 491 vendors that we approached, and of that, there were 8 that actually submitted. So we actually sent out requests to 491. We were pleased that we had the number that came back, which was 8. But as Patty said, one of the highest criteria has to do with operating an existing kitchen that's going. And at the same time, part of my requirement is that we get this built so that it's operational, that when we have a school that's built, that we don't have a kitchen yet built, but in the first phase we've got the student population that's moving to a new school. We got to have some way to get food to these children. So the idea is to have this kitchen operational and ready so we can make these, we can prepare these meals for these children for the schools that we're building. And so having that built, having this constructed at the same time to be able to prepare those meals for these schools is critical. So we had, like I said, we had 8 responding. We had, through the evaluation process and the approach, we then negotiated a particular contract, and the corporation that we're looking to award this to is Chase. Chase, you probably know from Cheyenne, who did an excellent job there. And we would highly recommend, and it was a consensus of the total committee, that by far that this particular proposal was the best, and they had the highest scoring. So it's our recommendation that the board award this contract to Chase.
Questions? Board Member Kirby?
Questions?
Okay, thank you. Questions may be best answered by Ms. Smith, but so last time we talked about this at a work study, we did take a look at where the dollars are coming from to build the kitchen. Some are coming from the bond, is that correct? And then some are coming from the fund balance that's already built up
That's
from
correct.
food services. Is that still correct?
Yes.
So have the financials, the funding piece as well as the payback piece changed materially since we last discussed it at a work study?
I can answer. No, it's still the same.
Okay.
However, the number that we have to provide to the builder is the same number. You know, that number might drop as we get into the construction, but that separation in terms of where we fund this, that has not changed.
Okay. And then can you, again, we did discuss this at work study, but for those that might be watching tonight that did not see that work study, can you talk a bit about why this is important on a larger scale? Kind of the 50,000 foot, why do we want to go do this? Why would we want to build a central kitchen? And specifically address, does it detract from our true mission or not?
Okay. Patty, you can help me with that, but I just happen to have some...
It's a rhetorical question, because I know the board's already heard all this, but I'd like for you to state it again.
If you need to use that.
Yeah, I don't know if we really want to get into the financial areas of it, other than like to look at the global reason why we are doing this. The centralized kitchen is, I think there was some misconception that people thought that this was where we were going to make prefab food that came hot, delivered to schools every single day, every breakfast, every lunch. That is not the case. What we are looking at is being able to produce some in-house foods that would be more healthful, less preservatives, be able to reduce our sodiums, increase our whole grains. I think of dressings. You know, you look at the back of a packet of dressing and it's got 15 ingredients where we can make a dressing with 3. And we can send it out. It's far more cost effective because we're not paying that like fancy packaging that might say a vendor's name on it, what have you. I look at items like zucchini breads that cost us 58 cents a slice right now. We can do that for a very small fraction of the price. We're also looking at bulk foods, casseroles, lasagnas, being able to produce our supper meals for kids out of there without having to increase any labor at our sites, because we can take that in-house and do it there. We're also looking at our contract meals that we serve to entities outside of SUSD. And many people do look at that and wonder, why do we do that? It's to support our meals here within the district. And I need to clarify that without this financial revenue and profit coming in, we could not have the menus we have in our schools. I would put our menus against any other district out there. We have up to 6 to 7 entrees every day in our elementaries. That is not the case in Arizona. We have 27 entrees a day in our middle school and high school. We have 6 fresh salads a day. We have multiple different sandwiches. We make some scratch foods, and we can just enhance and make that better by being able to contract to these other entities where we can set a price that we actually go out, contract these, and we back ourselves into our price by saying, this is what we need to make as a profit margin, and this is what we will do, and we can turn away business if it doesn't work that way. So it does enhance us. We are a school district where kids don't have to eat with us in many of our schools. So we need to provide them the foods they want to come in and eat with us, and to also then supplement maybe the areas where those kids maybe need more healthful foods once in a while, to see some varieties of different types of fruits and vegetables. So we just see this as nothing but an enhancement to our program. It will cost absolutely nothing
extra. In fact, I see it as becoming a benefit to our district and even bringing in more dollars into our program that we will roll right back into our SUSD kids.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Board Member Hartman.
Thank you, Ms. Bilbrey. I appreciate the operational as well as the health benefits of what we're doing, so thank you for sharing that. It's really your entrepreneurship and your team that really, makes this a special gem, in our district. I did have just one financial question,
Okay.
and that was related to, I feel like I'm taking another board member's role, but I was interested in the CMAR contingency. I think I did notice that we were increasing it on this particular.
Yeah, normally, in the past ones, we were at 4%.
Right.
And this was at 6.5, only because we have less plans in place right now. We're still taking a look at the design of the kitchen right now. So if the price drops, we get the plans in place, then of course that still comes back to us because that contingency can be dropped, if you will. So instead of the 2.5, if it comes in at 2 and we got the plans in place, then of course that number would drop. So it is a contingency because the builder has more risk right now because we have limited plans. So the idea is that as we build the plans, then the risk goes down. For example, at this time, we have what's called a grease trap that takes care of all of the overflow of the excess grease that comes out of the sink. At this time, we have a tank there that's about 750 gallons. Well, there's an idea that it may have to be increased, but we're not sure until we get the final design on the sinks and some of the prep areas that will be substantial enough. If it's not, just that one item, if we have to increase it to, say, a 2,500 gallon tank or 1,500, that could be a $40,000 or $50,000 hit. But we don't know that right now. So the contingency is actually set so that it helps to offset some of the risk that the builder has in coming into this with actually limited plans. But the onus is on us to work with the architect to make sure we get the plans right. And Patty's been working on a weekly basis right now with the architect to get those plans. And as soon as we approve this, then of course the builder will be a part of that whole process to actually build these plans.
Okay, and thank you for that explanation. It was the 2% I was looking for, just because that's based on still a fee of $125,000 that we're. That's right. Right, okay, so it's neighborhood of $2,500 flex for the time that you're talking about.
And again, if you see that the total amount is less, then that drops. It's all proportional when it drops.
Any additional questions? All right. Yes. Board Member Beckham.
I guess I'll just reiterate again, anytime we're being asked to approve this, I do feel that it is important that we see an update on the bonds and the financial aspect of it. This is just to choose this particular contract for the pre-construction, correct? But going forward, I know that Board Member Hartman has asked for 5 deliverables that we haven't seen yet, and I'm hoping that the next time that we're asked to do something that we are actually going to have those deliverables, and it will give us the overview of all the financials, where we are, how much we've spent, and where we're going. And then obviously the pro forma for each, the project that you're asking for. That'd be just really helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I have a clarifying question. I apologize for not clarifying this earlier than tonight. In the language, describe for me the alternative project delivery method factors. Is that this action item tonight that's connected to the approval of the RFQ?
So let me clarify that. The board has already approved that.
Okay.
We talked with Michelle before we came.
Okay.
And we actually need to strike through alternative project delivery method.
That's what I thought.
Yes,
Okay.
because that has already been approved, and it's not necessary to approve again at this board meeting.
Okay.
So it is tonight up for approval, the award of the RFQ.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to be specific there. All right. Okay, so if there's no other questions, then I will make a motion that we approve the awarding of RFQ number 18016, Construction Manager at Risk, CMAR for Centralized Kitchen Project.
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bildry. I bet you're excited. Okay. All right. She did a great job. All right. We will move on next to item 13, our future items. I noted at our last special meeting Thursday that we wanted, I believe our board wanted to discuss policy language for the annual capacity review, open enrollment busing, and the review of open enrollment wait list selection process. Those are notes from Thursday night. Are there any additional items, or did I potentially miss any items? No? Yep. Board Member Hartman?
Right. I would be interested at some point an agenda item, and I do not want this to be taken at all the wrong way. In fact, it is really about looking at our district long-term longevity. And what I'm interested in talking about is what succession planning looks like at our top level. So the superintendent, the cabinet, probably principal, and AP. I will be the first to buy vitamins for our existing leadership. So it's not about it's not about anything negative whatsoever. It's just about, from a governance perspective, making sure that we've got a plan long term and what that looks like. And I'm not sure if that's actually an executive session item. It may be. So I'm open to whatever the most appropriate format is. Thank you.
So we will make a note to ask that question, yes, because it very well may be. All right, any additional? Okay, so, and there will be, I know you all received an agenda schedule. There are additional things that will be added to that, along with what we mentioned tonight, so. We got our rest of our year planned. It's okay. We're going to have plenty to do. Okay, so if that's it, we will move on next to item 12, Governing Board Reports. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry, I skipped one. Item 11, dates of upcoming meetings. Sorry, our board will meet Monday, August 28th, 2017 at 9 a.m. for our board retreat and training. I believe that will be at the MDA. Is that correct? Our next study session is on September 7th, 2017 at 3 p.m. Will that be in our new digs in the MDA as well, or here, that study session?
Yes, we will.
We'll at the MDA, unless otherwise notified, we will be in our new office space in the MDA there. And we'll be able to be videotaped, correct? And that as well as a study session, so. Okay, maybe not. Just get ready for your close-up, ladies, that's all I'm gonna say. Our next regular governing board meeting is September 12th, 5 p.m., of course, here in this room. Now we will move on to item 12, Governing Board Reports. Do we have any? Board Member Kirby?
Thank you. Over the summer, I was contacted by two candidates for Arizona State Superintendent of Public Instruction, and I invited them both to attend one of our board meetings this year, and one has already taken me up on that offer. Traveling all the way from Peoria around 5 o'clock, she missed the deadline to turn in her public comment card, but I did want to acknowledge that she did stay here tonight. She's here. Tracy Livingston is in the background, so thank you for coming.
And Board Member Hartman.
Thank you. Just two items to report from over the summer. On behalf of the board, I actually attended the SUSD Self-Insurance Trust Committee on behalf of the board in June. As a result of the meeting, Laura Smith, our CFO, along with the trust committee, we decided to do a deeper analysis on actually our third-party administrator expenses, as well as our portfolio performance. So in the spirit of no stone being unturned, we will report back to you, but we have some terrific activity, and we're working with the Arizona Community Foundation to understand some investment rigor that may benefit us. And then secondly, I wanted to share that over the summer, I actually met with the Helios Foundation to share our Coronado High School CSI progress. And Helios really provides significant experience and funding components of similar initiatives. So I'd like to first of all share with you, when I shared that our team of Dr. Birdwell, Dr. Fuller, Dr. Johnson, and Principal Gilmore were part of this, they said, well, you've got the A team to begin with, because each of them have participated in other state initiatives. They were not only impressed with the team that we've assembled, but they were really, really amazed with the community participation we already have in place with ASU and Scottsdale Community College and the Charros, as well as many other groups are involved at this point. So they're incredibly complimentary. They provided us a couple of additional contacts, one of which that's kind of exciting is they were really interested in our need for a matriculation specialist, and I realize that's kind of a little bit of a moving target, but whatever that equivalent is, they actually were interested in participating and potentially funding that role for us. So Dr. Fuller is now in contact with the Helios leadership team, and so the follow-up conversation that you're going to be having, Dr. Birdwell, with Helios, I think is going to be very, very well timed. So thanks for the great work, and just wanted to share that really positive feedback. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening?
So moved.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Kravitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Out before 7:30. Holy moly. Woo.
Have another 4 hours.